السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته يا شيخ علي.
عبد الرحمن, how are you?
Alhamdulillah, I'm fine.
What are you doing with this class?
نعم يا شيخ علي.
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم. أما بعد. In the last class we had ended the story of Ifk, and we had encouraged us to go back to the verses of the Quran from verse 11 in Surah An-Nur to verse 21 in the same surah, and then 2-3 verses after that in the same surah, where Allah spoke about Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. He said subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَلَا يَأْتَلِ أُولُو الْفَضْلِ مِنْكُمْ وَالسَّعَةِ. And we mentioned that ulul fadli amongst the companions and as-sa'a in this verse was Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. We knew that from the sababun nuzul, the circumstance surrounding the revelation of that verse. We understood that from sababun nuzul. We also understood that from the events that happened immediately after that verse was revealed. Because when Allah said, subhanahu wa ta'ala, that وَلْيَعْفُوا وَلْيَصْفَحُوا أَلَا تُحِبُّونَ أَنْ يَغْفِرَ اللَّهُ لَكُمْ, Abu Bakr as-Siddiq said, بَلَا وَاللَّهِ إِنِّي لَأُحِبُّ أَنْ يَغْفِرَ اللَّهُ لِي. So it became clear that that verse was revealed regarding Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, and ulul fadli was-sa'ah min al-mu'minin was no other than Abu Bakr as-Siddiq in the circumstance of the revelation of that verse. We then came to other things that Imām Adh-Dhahabi rahimahullah had said from the fallouts of Qissatul Ifk. From the fallouts of Qissatul Ifk was that Allah mentioned in Surah An-Nur subhanahu wa ta'ala, الذي والذي تولى كبره الذي تولى كبره, the one who came in front, تولى كبره, who took upon himself to do the worst in spreading that story. That was Abdullah ibn Ubay ibn Salul. But there are two other positions. People who were spreading messages that Alladhi tawalla kibarahu, the one who was in the forefront of that slander against Āishah radiyallahu anha. Since the time of the Tabi'un, some of the people went on to start saying that it was Ali ibn Abi Talib, and that was not true. The scholars of Sunnah at the time rejected that, and it was also rejected by our mother Āishah. And her rejection, she was at the middle of the story, radiyallahu anha. So when people were saying that الذي تولى كبره كان عليا, that it was Ali ibn Abi Talib, she rejected it. The riwayat from Āishah radiyallahu anha were musarriha. They were clear that الذي تولى كبره, the one who did the worst in spreading that story about her, was Abdullah ibn Ubay ibn Salul, Ra'sul Munafiqeen. And that was why Al-Hafiz ibn Hajar rahimahullah, he said in Al-Fath, وَهُوَ Abdullah ibn Ubay. It was Abdullah ibn Ubay, that is, الذي تولى كبره, Ibn Hajar said, rahimahullah, وَبِهِ تَظَاهَرَتِ الرِّوَايَاتِ وَبِهِ تظاهرت الروايات عن عائشة رضي الله عنها من قصة الإفك المطولة. So all the riwayat on Qissatul Ifk were clear, they were explicit. تظاهرت الروايات عن عائشة رضي الله عنها أن الذي تولى كبره كان عبد الله ابن Ubay ibn Salul, that the one who played the worst role was Abdullah ibn Ubay ibn Salul. The other person from amongst the scholars that we mentioned, I think in the last class, was Al-Hafiz ibn Kathir. He said in the tafsir that Al-Aktharun ala anna al-murada bi-dhalik, most of the scholars, Al-Aktharun, most of the scholars were upon the fact that أن المراد بذلك, that the intent, the one who was intended in that verse, الذي تولى كبره وهو عبد الله ibn Ubay ibn Salul قبحه الله ولعنه, that it was إنما هو عبد الله ibn Ubay ibn Salul, that it was Abdullah ibn Ubay ibn Salul. Then he cursed him, may Allah protect us. He said, قَبَّحَهُ اللَّهُ وَلَعَنَهُ. He cursed him because he was a munafiq, he was a kafir. His kufr and nifaq became clear to such an extent that Allah prohibited the Prophet ﷺ from attending his janazah. So it was clear that he was already under the curse of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that was why Allah said, الذي تولى كبره له عذاب عظيم. The one who played the worst role, which was Abdullah ibn Ubay ibn Salul, he has a severe punishment. So Ibn Kathir said, وهو الذي تقدم النص عليه في الحديث. He was the one that was clearly mentioned in the text of the hadith. So the first point here is الذي تولى كبره was who? Abdullah ibn Ubay ibn Salul. But there were accusations regarding Ali ibn Abi Talib radiyallahu anhu. Even Āishah radiyallahu anha, she was not pleased with the role of Abu Bakr of Ali ibn Abi Talib. But Ali ibn Abi Talib did not slander Āishah radiyallahu anha. Ali ibn Abi Talib, Abu al-Hasan radiyallahu anhum, he never slandered Āishah. He never spoke evil of Āishah. He just did not meet her expectations. What she considered negative from Ali was that radiyallahu anhuma, Ali radiyallahu anhu did not meet her expectations. She expected radiyallahu anha, she expected Ali ibn Abi Talib to speak the way Usama ibn Zayd spoke. What did Usama ibn Zayd said? Said, Ahluka ya Rasulallah, wala a'rifu anha illa khaira. Oh Messenger, these are your wives. This is your wife. I don't know anything except goodness. As for Ali ibn Abi Talib, radiyallahu anhu, he said, Ya Rasulallah, lam yudayyikillahu alayk. Allah has not restricted you, O Messenger of Allah. Wa nisa'u siwaha kathir. And women other than Āishah, they are many. So he was trying to appease and appeal to the Prophet and give him hope, tell him something that will help relieve the grief, relieve his concern, relieve his worry. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. This was what our mother Āishah radiyallahu anha considered as ishah. So when she was asked about Ali ibn Abi Talib radiyallahu anha, in some reports she said, Kana musi'an fi amri. Kana musi'an fi amri. In another report she said, Inna Aliyan asa'a fi sha'ani. He did not do well. Ali did not do well. radiyallahu anha, she said, Ali radiyallahu anhu did not do well. Why? Because she expected him to say the like of what Usama ibn Zayd said. So she said, Anna Aliyan asa'a fi sha'ni wallahu yaghfiru lahu. So what he did was not something the like of which the others were flogged. People like Hamna were flogged 80 strokes. People like Mr. were flogged 80 strokes. People like Hassan ibn Thabit were flogged 80 strokes, 2 men and a man. As for Abdullah ibn Ubay ibn Salul, he was left. Why? Because he was a munafiq. And the scholars have mentioned another reason why Abdullah ibn Ubay ibn Salul was left unflogged. They said because he was a person who wanted to create a bad image for the Prophet ﷺ. He was to be the head of the people of Medina before the Prophet came. So if he were flogged, he wanted to use it as an opportunity to tarnish the image of the Messenger ﷺ, as if to say Muhammad is just flogging a man who was supposed to be our head. So he gave a lot of problems. A lot of problems. Even when we remember in Al-Munafiqun. And that was as a precursor to Ifk. When they were returning from Banu Mustaliq, that was when he was saying that La in raja'na ila al-madinati la yukhrijanna al-a'azzu minha al-azal. It was Abdullah ibn Ubay who was saying this, that if we return to Makkah, they Munafiqun, they will expel the people of Iman from Medina. And one of the companions, Zayd ibn Arqam, he heard it. He went to tell the Prophet ﷺ that hear what Abdullah ibn Ubay was saying. So when he was told, go and confirm, go and bring him, ask him, did Ibn Ubay ibn Salul, did he say that, La in raja'na ila al-Madina? Did he say that? Ibn Ubay ibn Salul started to swear by Allah. Wallahi, I did not say that. Wallahi, I did not say that. The companion Zayd ibn Arqam became very sad. He was sick over that. So the Prophet accepted that excuse, that statement, that rejection from Ibn Ubay ibn Salul. And he told the other companion that maybe you have committed a mistake. You have erred. He didn't say it. The Prophet accepted alayhi salatu wasalam, the swearing of Abdullah ibn Ubay ibn Salul. And he left the information of who? Zayd ibn Arqam. And then Allah revealed the verse. هُمُ الَّذِينَ يَقُولُونَ. They were the ones who were saying that لَإِن رَجَعْنَا إِلَى الْمَدِينَةِ. The Prophet called Zayd ibn Arqam. Say, hey, come. Allah has vouchsafed you. This happened even before Ifk. And then when they returned to Medina, he started the Ifk. So the one, الَّذِي تَوَلَّى كِبْرَهُ, the one who was in front, who did the worst in Qissat al-Ifk, was who? Abdullah ibn Ubay ibn Salul. It was not who? It was not Ali ibn Abi Talib. The third person who was also alleged to be Allazi Tawalla Kibrahu was Hassan ibn Thabit. Hassan ibn Thabit, yes, played a role. But he was not the one Allazi Tawalla Kibrahu. Hassan ibn Thabit was engaged in the slander. He spoke negative about Āishah, as all the reports have said. Hassan ibn Thabit was guilty. And from authentic ahadith, he was flogged by the Prophet ﷺ. He was not a young man. It was said that Hassan ibn Thabit already spent 60 years before the Prophet was invited as a messenger ﷺ. So by that, Al-Imam ibn Sa'ad said that in his Tabaqat, and others amongst the ulama. Al-Imām Adh-Dhahabi also mentioned that in his tarjama on Hassan ibn Thabit. So Hassan ibn Thabit, take it that he was about 60 years old before Islam. The Prophet ﷺ had spent 13 years in Makkah. And Qissatul Ifk happened in the 6th year of Hijrah. 6 plus 13 will give you how many years? 18 years. 19 years. Add 19 years to 60. So he was about 79 years old during the time of Ifk. And that was why even during the lifetime of Āishah, he became blind. Hassan ibn Thabit, Abu Abdur-Rahman al-Ansari. So he played a role, but he was not the one, الَّذِي تَوَلَّى كِبْرَهُ. The one at this statement, الَّذِي تَوَلَّى كِبْرَهُ, his punishment is worse than the rest. That is the reason people were saying, was this so person? Was this so person? Was this so person? It was not Ali ibn Abi Talib. According to Āishah radiallahu anha, it was who? Abdullah ibn Ubay ibn Salul. All others who reported this narration say it was Ibn Ubay ibn Salul. As for Ali ibn Abi Talib, yes, he did not meet her expectations. But he was not the one. He did not slander her. وَلَيْسَ هُوَ الَّذِي تَوَلَّى كِبْرَهُ. It was not Ali. But another person who was accused to be the one who tawalla kibrahu was who? Hassan ibn Thabit. As for Hassan ibn Thabit, he was involved. وَلَيْسَ الَّذِي تَوَلَّى كِبْرَهُ. He was involved in the slander, but he was not the one, radiyallahu anhu. He was not the one who was the originator, the founder, and the one who was spreading this evil against our mother Āishah. Here in page 161 of our book, Siyar A'alām An-Nubala, when we read from it, the Seerah of Āishah. If we come to page 161, Al-Imām Al-A'mash, rahimahullah, reported from Abu Duha, Muslim ibn Subayh al-Kufi, from Al-Imam Masruq ibn al-Ajda', that دخل حسان ibn Thabit على عائشة رضي الله عنها يشيب بأبيات له فيها, that Hassan ibn Thabit one day after the ifk, he came to visit our mother Āishah. Apparently it was after the demise of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. After the Prophet had died, one day Hassan ibn Thabit, he was already an old man. He was over 70 when this matter happened. So when the Prophet died, he would be nearing 80, radiyallahu anhu. So he came to visit Āishah, radiyallahu anha. Yushayyibu bi abiyatin lahu fiha. And he was saying some poems that he had poetized regarding Āishah. And in that poem, he said, حصان رزان ما تزن بريبة وتصبح غرثا من لحوم الغوافل. حصان رزان ما تزن بريبة وتصبح غرثا من لحوم الغوافل. حصان. Āishah radiallahu anha, she was a preserved woman. She was a reserved woman. Radiallahu anha. She was not a woman who was regularly mixing up with men. Today, women take it as a thing of pride. They mix up easily with men. As for Āishah, both in speech and in action, she wasn't mixing up with men. That was why Hassan ibn Thabit described her, radiyallahu anhuma. He said, while trying to praise her to make her happy, by way of innal hasanat yuzhibna as-sayyi'at, to do good to her, because he had done something negative. He was involved in ifk. So after all the incidents of ifk, he was now praising her with poems. So he said regarding her, Hasanun razanun ma tuzannu biribatin. Hasanun, a reserved woman. She was reserved. She was disconnected from men. To be disconnected from men is a praiseworthy quality of a Muslim woman. But today, you see a Muslim woman saying that one man was her friend, one boy is her friend, one boy be your friend. How can you become Hassanun if one man and one boy were your friends? So Hassanun, Razanun, she was an intellectually balanced person. If she was not an intellectually balanced person, if it were a woman of today, regarding if she would have set up a WhatsApp platform against her husband. Many women today, they would have set up WhatsApp platform against their husband. They will be narrating stories. They will be speaking there. They will be saying there. Women will be telling them, we no go agree. We must not agree. We must investigate. They must have started hashtag. But as for her, she went to her father's house and her mother's house. She was impatient. She was begging Allah and waiting for the decision from Allah. About everything she did was in consultation with her parents. If it was today, it would be hashtag women shouting. These are the kind of women. So she was Razan. She was radiallahu anha, a woman who is balanced in her mind. The ulama say Razan is another expression that is used to say she was not a walkabout. A woman who is Razan, she's calm, balanced. She's not a walkabout woman. Waka waka, waka waka. She's not. Another meaning of Razan is what? A woman who is steady. She's steady in a place. It is not from the praiseworthy qualities of women to be walkabout. Walk about. In the morning, walk. It is not praiseworthy for women. Women are calm, seated somewhere. That was why Allah said to the wives of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and by ruling to the rest of the women, وَقَرْنَ فِي بُيُوتِكُنَّ وَلَا تَبَرَّجْنَ تَبَرُّجَ الْجَاهِلِيَّةِ الْأُولَى. The woman who obeys these instructions, she's also called what? Razan. Hasanun, Razanun, ma tuzannu biribatin. Ma tuzannu biribatin. She did not behave in any way to bring her dishonor. She did not get into any ambiguous matter to get her into dishonor. She did not. One of the things she did not do was, even during the ifk, she was not conversing with Safwan ibn al-Mu'attal. If it were a woman today, she would start gisting with the man. How are you? How is this? What were you doing behind that made you to find me? He will be asking, and then you start gisting and start discussing. As for Āishah radiallahu anha, ma tuzannu bi ribatin. She did not do anything that will bring her into riba, into ambiguity. Women these days, they can do something that the husband begins to say, why did you do that? Why did you go there? Why are you talking to so-and-so? She will now start explaining, I don't know him before. He was just messaging me. Then I wanted to reply. Then, as for Āishah, ma tuzannu bi ribatin. She did not do anything that will bring her in. Her husband starts doubting her. No. Ma tuzannu bi ribatin. Radiyallahu anha. Wa tusbihu garsa. Min luhumil ghawafili tusbihu garsa. When Āishah wakes up, radiyallahu anha, her stomach is empty. Tusbihu garsa. She wakes up as a woman whose stomach is empty. Empty from what? Min luhumil ghawafili. She was not a woman who went about backbiting al-ghawafil. Al-ghawafil is the plural of what? Ghafila. So you have a woman who is ghafila. A woman who is ghafila is an innocent, chaste woman. For Āishah, her tummy, her stomach is empty from the flesh of innocent people, innocent Muslim women. What does that mean? She did not used to backbite. You remember Allah said, أَيُحِبُّ أَحَدُكُمْ أَنْ يَأْكُلَ لَحْمَ أَخِيهِ مَيْتًا. Would any one of you be pleased to eat up the flesh of his brother? So those who eat up people's flesh, their mouths and their tummies are full. But as for Āishah, her own tummy is what? Empty. Why? She was not used to backbiting. These are the traits of some Muslim women today. So Muslim women can backbite even shaitan. They will be backbiting, calling all of that chats. Calling all of that, talking in platforms. Backbiting is a common thing amongst Muslim women today. As for Āishah, tusbihu gharsa min luhumil ghawafili. She was a woman who would wake up in the morning and her stomach is empty from the flesh of innocent women. Hassanun, Razanun, ma tuzannu ribatin, wa tusbihu gharsa. So this was what Hassan ibn Thabit was coming to say to Āishah radiyallahu anha. فقالت لكنك لست كذاك radiyallahu anha. Āishah said, but you are not like that. What does that mean? He was saying radiyallahu anhu that Āishah was free from backbiting. So Aisha said, well, you are not free from backbiting now. You are backbiting me. Radiallahu anhum. So when Aisha went away, if you go to other reports of this hadith, Masruq ibn al-Ajda, who was present, said that when Hassan ibn Thabit had gone away, he then was saying to Aisha, فَقُلْتُ تَدَعِينَ مِثْلَ هَذَا يَدْخُلُ عَلَيْكِ O Aisha, تَدَعِينَ مِثْلَ هَذَا يَدْخُلُ عَلَيْكِ Should you have allowed this kind of a man to come in to greet you? وَقَدْ أَنزَلَ اللَّهُ تَعَالَى And Allah had revealed and said that وَالَّذِي تَوَلَّى كِبْرَهُ مِنْهُمْ لَهُ عَذَابٌ عَظِيمٌ The one amongst these people who played the biggest role, who was worse in all of these, he has a severe punishment. So that's like Masruq saying that Hassan ibn Thabit was the one who tawalla kibrahu. Do you understand? It's as if Hassan ibn Thabit was being mentioned by Masruq to Aisha as alladhi tawalla kibrahu. So upon that, our mother Aisha still replied Masruq ibn al-Ajda. So he said, وَأَيُّ عَذَابٍ أَشَدُّ مِنَ الْعَمَى Which punishment is worse than blindness? After all, Hassan was already blind. So that's time when Hassan went to visit Aisha. Radiallahu anha. Don't forget his age. When Ifk happened, he was about how many years old? Over 70 years old. So at the time the Prophet died, that this incident happened, he was perhaps maybe nearing 80 at the time. So he had gone blind. He had become weak. He was still trying to right his wrong. Radiallahu anhu. This is usually the difference. In those days, if anybody did what was wrong, they made tawbah. Don't forget that he had already been flogged for it. And he is being flogged for it. Was what? Was kafara for him. Yet, he was still trying to do good. Do you understand? Taba wa aslaha wa ahsana after tawbah. He made tawbah. He was still trying to right his wrongs. The woman that he had slandered, he was still now trying to say something good and positive about her. That would make it easy for her also to forgive him. Radiallahu anhum. So when it was said that, did Allah not say that Allazi tawalla kibrahu, the one who was worse in it all, who played the worst role, lahu minhum lahu azabun azim, he will face a huge punishment on the day of Qiyamah. Aisha was replying it that, that's okay. After all, Allah had already made him blind. So that he was blind, that's okay. Radiallahu anha. Summa qalat. Masruq ibn al-Ajda said, Kana yaruddu an al-Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So Aisha is now reminding the people about the good deeds Hassan ibn Thabit used to do before the ifk. Kana yaruddu an al-Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He used to defend the Prophet. Ikhwa, do good. If you do good and then you make a mistake, during that time of your mistake, we will use that mistake, we will use that good that you had been doing to understand it. No, this one was a mistake. It's not like that. Urwa ibn Zubayr was a man who had stayed inside the house of Aisha, radiallahu anha. Urwa ibn Zubayr. He said, radiallahu anhu, كانت عائشة تكره أن يسب عندها حسان. كانت عائشة رضي الله عنها كانت تكره أن تسب حسان عندها. Aisha used to dislike that people come to say something negative about Hassan. And وتقول إنه الذي قال. She will now be telling them that you forget that Hassan ibn Thabit was the one who was saying that فَإِنَّ أَبِي وَوَالِدِي وَعِرْضِي لِعِرْضِ مُحَمَّدٍ مِنْكُمْ وِقَاءً صلى الله عليه وسلم فَإِنَّ أَبِي وَوَالِدِي وَعِرْضِي لِعِرْضِ مُحَمَّدٍ مِنْكُمْ وِقَاءً. Have you forgotten that Hassan ibn Thabit was the one who used to say that, فَإِنَّ أَبِي وَوَالِدِي وَعِرْدِي, my father, my mother, and my honor, لِيَرْدِ مُحَمَّدٍ مِنْكُمْ وِقَاءً. It is a means of defense and protection for the honor of the Prophet Muhammad. May my mother, my father, and my honor be the means of defense for Muhammad. Have you forgotten that he used to do all these things? So, oh wife, that time that you offended your husband, you wanted him to overlook. Can you kindly refer to the good that you had done that he will remember and then he will overlook? What are the good things you used to do that will make him feel that, oh, my wife did not used to behave like this? This one just happened as an accident. As for Hassan ibn Thabit, you can see Āishah defending him. He was involved in the ifk. He was flogged in the ifk. He was also trying to be good. He had made tawbah. He had had kafara because he had been flogged already. Yet, he was still singing poems to make Āishah be pleased with her. That is trying to be nice. إِلَّا مَنْ تَابَ وَآمَنَ وَعَمِلَ صَالِحًا. But some of the people think, no, when they make tawbah, that, and you will be doing good, doing good, doing good. And the one you had backbeaten and slandered, you'll be doing good towards him, so that each time he sees you, he'll be trying, the goodness will be overwhelming the evil things that you have done. Some people will start saying that, after all, I've said sorry. Did I not say sorry yesterday? I've said sorry now. So why did you not agree with sorry? After all, I have said sorry. No. If you have offended someone, you continue to appeal. You continue to appease until you will see that, oh, he's now getting happy with me. So you said sorry yesterday. Today you say, I said sorry yesterday. So is he expecting me to say sorry again? These are the kinds of arrogant apology that we apologize in our own times. The apology in our own times are arrogant. Somebody is arrogantly apologizing to somebody that he has offended or that she has offended. Even women arrogantly apologize to their husbands. Men arrogantly apologize to their wives if they are the one in the circumstance to apologize. You start here and say, did I not tell you sorry yesterday? But look at Hassan ibn Thabit. He had been flogged. He had made tawbah. The Prophet was pleased with him before he died. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Yet he was still doing things to please Āishah, So it was easy for Āishah to forgive him. Is forgiving people easy? Is it easy to forgive someone who had slandered you of zina? It's not easy. But Hassan ibn Thabit was doing things that will make Āishah's forgiving him easy for him. And one of those things that made it easy for Āishah to forgive Hassan ibn Thabit was that Hassan ibn Thabit had been a good man. He had been defending the honor of the Prophet. You could hear Āishah. أَلَيْسَ هُوَ الَّذِي قَالَ فَإِنَّ أَبِي وَوَالِدِي وَعِرْدِي لِإِرْدِ مُحَمَّدٍ مِنْكُمْ وِقَاءً. Wasn't Hassan the one saying that my father, my mother, my honor be the means of defense and protection for the honor of the Prophet Muhammad? So if a man was like this, then if he came again apologizing, trying to praise me, look at what he was saying about Āishah. Hasanun, Razanun, ma tuzannu biribatin, wa tusbihu garsa min luhumil gawa. Really, he was still praising her, encouraging her. Radiyallahu anhu. So if you want to apologize, if you want people to forgive you, apologize flatly. Each time you need to do good and say good things to the person that you have offended, continue to say it. Don't apologize arrogantly. After all, I have said sorry yesterday. That is an arrogant post-it as far as apologizing is concerned. If we come to page 162, Al-Imām Adh-Dhahabi said, Rahimahullah, Ibn Ishaq, يعني قال ابن إسحاق حدثني محمد ابن إبراهيم التيمي قال كان صفوان ابن المعطل. So the first three things have been settled. The first post-ifk discussions we found in this book is that Ali ibn Abi Talib was accused as الذي تولى كبره, but the accusation is faulty. It's a wrong accusation. Ali ibn Abi Talib was not the originator of that evil. Allazi tawalla kibrahu was who? Abdullah ibn Ubayy ibn Salul. The second thing was Hassan ibn Thabit was also accused as Allazi tawalla kibrahu. But that's not also authentic. What is authentic is that Allazi tawalla kibrahu was who? Abdullah ibn Ubayy ibn Salul. And then we saw how so apologetic, so repenting that Hassan ibn Thabit was. We are still coming back to that, inshallah. So another thing that happened after Allah had revealed Aisha's innocence was something between Safwan ibn Mu'attal and Hassan ibn Thabit. Let us hear what was it that happened between the two of them. Al-Imām Adh-Dhahabi cites this, rahimahullah, from Seerah A. And the isnad goes back to Al-Imam Muhammad ibn Ishaq ibn Yasar, Sahib al-Maghazi, rahimahullah. So Al-Imam Adh-Dhahabi said, Ibn Ishaq, حدثني محمد بن إبراهيم التيمي قال كان صفوان ابن المعطل قد كثر عليه حسان في شأن عائشة رضي الله عنها. Ibn Ishaq, like we said, this narration occurs in the book of Seerah by Ibn Hisham. And if we look at this isnad, we see that Muhammad ibn Ishaq, he said, حدثني. And he is reporting from Muhammad ibn Ibrāhīm ibn al-Harith al-Taymi, rahimahullah. So this surah, the surah here is surah of Irsal, as if it is Mursal, because Muhammad ibn Ibrāhīm was from amongst the Tabi'un. But Al-Hafiz ibn Hajar, rahimahullah, mentions this qissa, mentions it from Musa ibn Uqba up to with a complete isnad that makes us understand that it is not mursal, but this surah is surah of irsal, but this athar is sahih. If we want to see a fuller discussion about the authenticity of what we are reading now, we should go back to Sahih al-Sirah al-Nabawiyah by Shaykh Ibrāhīm al-Ali, page 350. So the point here is that this isnad is not sahih, but this athar is sahih. We can find fuller discussions about its authenticity. I'm saying this because of some of those, our brothers who become engaged with the science of hadith. They may be wondering that this is Muhammad ibn Ibrāhīm al-Taymi mentioning something that happened during Qissatul Ifk. Was he a Sahabi? He was not the Sahabi, but he had heard it from a Sahaba. So we can go back to these sources and we'll find the Asanid. Al-Imam al-Bayhaqi also reported it in Dalā'il al-Nubuwwah and others amongst ulama. If we come to Sahih al-Sirah al-Nabawiyah by Shaykh Ibrāhīm al-Ali, hafizahullah, page 350, we'll see the discussions about the Isnad. So what was it that happened between Safwan ibn al-Mu'attal? Do we remember Safwan ibn al-Mu'attal? The one who returned to Medina with Āishah, radiyallahu anha, between himself and Hassan ibn Thabit. We just read what happened between Hassan ibn Thabit and who? Āishah. Right. Let us read what happened between Safwan ibn Mu'attal and who? Hassan ibn Thabit. So it said, فَكَانَ صَفْوَانِ ibn al-Mu'attal قَدْ كَثَّرَ عَلَيْهِ حَسَّانٌ فِي شَأْنِ عَائِشَةَ رَضِيَ اللَّهُ عَنْهَا. The Isnad said that Safwan ibn al-Mu'attal كَثَّرَ عَلَيْهِ Hassan. Hassan ibn Thabit was too much upon him. That is, the speech what Hassan ibn Thabit was saying about Safwan ibn Mu'attal, that was before the verse was revealed. It was too much. This was a man, just like Āishah. They were also speaking evil about Safwan too, ibn Mu'attal. And one of those who was saying that was Hassan ibn Thabit. كَثَّرَ عَلَيْهِ حَسَّانٌ فِي شَأْنِ Āishah. Hassan ibn Thabit, and he was a poet, a man of poetry. He was a sha'ir. So he was saying things against Safwan. وَقَالَ يُعَرِّضُ بِهِ. He was saying things that have to do with the honor of Safwan. We all understand what that would mean. Hassan ibn Thabit was saying things regarding the honor of Safwan. And one of the things he said was, أَمْسَ الْجَلَابِيبُ قَدْ عَزُّوا وَقَدْ كَسُرُوا وابن الفريئة أمسى بيضة البلد أمسى الجلابيب قد عزوا وقد كثروا وابن الفريئة أمسى بيضة البلد. Hassan ibn Thabit was saying that أمسى الجلابيب. You know jilbab? When you say jilbab, its plural is what? Jalabib. And women will take a lesson from this. If it is jilbab, it must be on the ground. Your jilbab must be touching the ground. So people who are low in their character, people of little value are also referred to as what? Jilbab or jalabib. People of low virtue. They are also called what? Jalabib. Why? Because the jilbab is always on the ground. Do we understand? Because the jilbab is always on the ground. Normal jilbab should be on the ground. So people are referred to, some people are referred to as what? Jalabib. Why? What does that mean? It means that they are lowly people. So Hassan ibn Thabit was saying that Amsal Jalabibu qad azu wa qad kasuru. Useless people of low virtue. Azu, they are trying to feel important. Wa qad kasuru, and people like them are many now. They were useless people. They are feeling important. Many of them are many now. وَابْنُ الْفُرَيْعَةِ أَمْسَى بَيْضَةَ الْبَلَدِ. As for Ibn al-Furay'a, who was Ibn al-Furay'a? Hassan. As for me, because his mother's name is what? Furay'a. So Hassan said, وَابْنُ الْفُرَيْعَةِ أَمْسَى بَيْضَةَ الْبَلَدِ. بَيْضَةُ الْبَلَدِ is those who are eminent people in the society. So what was Hassan saying? Useless people. They are trying to feel important. Well, there are many now. As for me, I have just turned up to become one of the most important people in the community. Who was he referring to as useless people? Safwan ibn al-Mu'attal. So when this happens, فَاعْتَرَضَهُ صَفْوَانُ لَيْلَةً. So one day, Safwan ibn al-Mu'attal, after the verse has been revealed, to prove that Safwan and Āishah radiallahu anhuma were all innocent. So one day, اعترضه صفوان ليلة. In the night of that day, اعترضه صفوان. Safwan went to meet Hassan ibn Thabit. وهو آت من عند أخواله بني ساعدة. Hassan ibn Thabit was returning from his maternal aunts. He was returning from his maternal uncles. Safwan ibn Mu'attal went to meet who? Hassan ibn Thabit. One night, when Hassan was returning from his aunts, فَضَرَبَهُ بِالسَّيْفِ عَلَى رَأْسِهِ. And he smashed his sword on his head. Safwan smashed his sword. Ikhwa, you know what it means. Somebody is referring to you as Jalabib, Jilbab, useless idiot. Jalabib. You know, because the Jilbab is always on the ground. So people, lowly people, Azu, they are feeling important. Wakad Kasru, well, many, there are many now. As for us, Wabnul Furay, wa Amsaha, Wabnul Furay'a, Amsa Baydata. As for me, I think I'm the most important people in the community. So Safwan ibn Mu'attal felt bad. فَاعْتَرَضَهُ لَيْلَةً وَهُوَ آتٍ مِّنْ عِنْدِ أَخْوَالِهِ بَنِي سَعِيدَةَ. So he watched him one night when Hassan was returning from his maternal uncles, Banu Sa'ida. فَضَرَبَهُ بِالسَّيْفِ عَلَى رَأْسِهِ. So Safwan ibn al-Mu'attal, he hit Hassan ibn Thabit with what? With a sword ala ra'sihi, on top of his head. فَاسْتَعَدُّوا عَلَيْهِ ثَابِتَ ibn Qais. استعدوا عَلَيْهِ. So they began to shout, calling for help. One of the people they called for help against Safwan was Thabit ibn Qais. فَجَمَعَ يَدَيْهِ إِلَىٰ عُنُقِهِ بِحَبْلٍ. So Thabit ibn Qais grabbed Safwan He tied Safwan's hand to his neck with a rope. وَقَادَهُ إِلَى دَارِ بَنِي حَارِثَةَ. He dragged him to the space, the area of Banu Haritha. That is the tribe of Hassan ibn Thabit. Do you understand? He dragged him there. فَلَكِيَهُ ibn Rawaha. So Abdullah ibn Rawaha met him doing that to Safwan. فَقَالَ مَا هَذَا. Say, what is this that is happening? فَقَالَ مَا أَعْجَبَكَ إِنَّهُ عَادَ عَلَى حَسَّانِ بِالسَّيْفِ. Does it interest you? What this man has done is that he had shown enmity, strong enmity against who? Hassan. He had attacked Hassan بالسيف, with a sword. فَوَاللَّهِ مَا أَرَاهُ إِلَّا قَدْ قَتَلَهُ. In fact, wallahi, what I think is that he would have killed Hassan ibn Thabit. You know, Hassan was an old man at the time. So even before confirming, Thabit ibn Qais had thought that Hassan ibn Thabit would have been dead from that attack by who? Safwan ibn al-Mu'attal. فَوَاللَّهِ مَا أَرَاهُ إِلَّا قَدْ قَتَلَهُ. I don't think anything other than that. He would have killed Hassan ibn Thabit. That was why I tied him down. And I carried him to the family house of Hassan ibn Thabit. This was the man who hit your brother with a sword. فَقَالَ هَلْ عَلِمَ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمْ بِمَا صَنَعْتَ بِهِ. Abdullah ibn Rawaha now asked that he was asking Thabit ibn Qais ibn Shammas, هَلْ عَلِمَ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ عَلَيْهِ الصَّلَاةُ وَسَلَامُ. Has the Prophet gotten any sort of a knowledge? بِمَا صَنَعْتَ بِهِ, with this that you have done to Safwan. فَقَالَ لَا وَاللَّهِ. Say no, the Prophet had not heard. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. فَقَالَ, then he said, وَاللَّهِ لَقَدْ اجْتَرَأْتَ خَلِّ سَبِيلَهُ. اجْتَرَأْتَ. You have done something too bold. How would you have tied a man like this without telling the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam? خَلِّ سَبِيلَهُ. Leave him, let him go. فَتَتَغْدُوا عَلَى رَسُولِ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ. فَسَنَغْدُوا عَلَى رَسُولِ اللَّهِ. What we should rather do is that tomorrow morning we should quickly go and meet the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. فَنُعْلِمُهُ أَمْرَهُ. Then we can tell the Prophet what Safwan has done. But for you to single-handedly grab Safwan, tie him and all of this, it is not appropriate. Leave the man. Tomorrow let's go and report to the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu salam. There's a point of benefit here, ikhwa. Islam does not support jungle justice. Islam does not support jungle justice. If a person does something, what do? You report that person to constituted authority. Abdullah ibn Rawaha would have joined Thabit ibn Qais ibn Shammas to begin to attack Safwan ibn Mu'attal. But instead, he told Safwan ibn al-Mu'attal that no, don't do that. Allow the man. What you should rather do is that very early tomorrow morning, go and report the case to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. فَخَلِّ سَبِيلَهُ. So when Thabit ibn Qais heard that, he allowed Safwan to go. He released Safwan. فَلَمَّا أَصْبَحُوا. The next morning when they woke up, غَضَوْا عَلَى النَّبِيِّ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ. Everybody went very early to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. فَذَكَرُوا لَهُ ذَلِكَ. And they went to explain to the Prophet what had happened in the night. What happened? Safwan ibn Mu'attal went to Hassan ibn Thabit and struck him with his sword on his head. فَقَالَ, then the Prophet said alayhi salatu wasalam, after he had heard the complaint, أَيْنَ ibn al-Mu'attal. You see the Prophet now alayhi salatu wasalam. It was Safwan against whom the complaint came. The Prophet said, where is Safwan? فَقَامَ إِلَيْهِ. Safwan stood up to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. فَقَالَ هَا أَنَا ذَا يَا رَسُولَ اللَّهِ. I am here, O Messenger of Allah. فَقَالَ, the Prophet then asked him, مَا دَعَاكَ إِلَى مَا صَنَعْتَ. What made you do what you did? مَا دَعَاكَ إِلَى مَا صَنَعْتَ. What was it that pushed you to what you did? رضي الله عنه. قال, Safwan ibn al-Mu'attal said, Azani ya Rasulallah. Safwan ibn Mu'attal told the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam that Azani, this man was causing me harm. Who was that? Hassan ibn Thabit. Azani, he caused me harm. Ya Rasulallah. Wa kathaba alayya. He was heavy upon me. He was just attacking me. Walam yarda. He did not please. He was not satisfied. Hatta arrada bi fil hijah. Until he even began to insult my honor in a poetic insult. Fil hijah. He was even mentioning my merits. He was mentioning my honor in poems. Radiyallahu anhum. Fahtamalani al-ghadab. Then anger pushed me. So anger pushed me to do what I did. So when I saw him, I will teach you a lesson. I'm the one that you are abusing, Nabi. I'm the one that you are doing that. So that was what pushed me. Ihtamalani al-ghadab. It was anger that pushed me to hit Hassan ibn Thabit with a sword on his head. Waha anaza. I am here now, O Messenger of Allah. فَمَا كَانَ عَلَيَّ مِنْ حَقٍّ فَحَدِّثْنِي بِهِ. Whatever is against me, tell me. فَمَا كَانَ عَلَيَّ مِنْ حَقٍّ. Any right of his that's against me, I'm here now. I have done what I have done. You see them, radiyallahu anhu. Oh, Messenger, I did it. So whatever is against me, tell me. This makes us understand it. Let us hear it again. This ummah is not an ummah of fawda. It's not an ummah of confusion. It's not an ummah of everybody do it. When a person becomes guilty of an offense, you take him to constituted authority. Constituted authority will listen to him. They will hear him. They will hear the accusation. And whatever was due to him, the constituted authority will supervise and ensure that justice is served. So the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam heard that. And Safwan ibn Mu'attal explained his side of the matter. فَقَالَ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ. Then the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, رُدْعُوا لِي حَسَّانَ ibn Thabit. Call Hassan ibn Thabit. So apparently, it was Abdullah ibn Rawaha and Thabit ibn Qais ibn Shammas and Safwan ibn Mu'attal that were at that sitting. Hassan ibn Thabit was not there. Don't forget, he would be nursing his injury, radiyallahu anhu, at that time. فَأُتِيَ بِهِ. So he was brought. Hassan ibn Thabit, utiya, he was brought to the place. Why was he brought? Because he was already in injury. فَقَالَ يَا حَسَّانَ. The Prophet said, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, O Hassan, أَتَشَوَّهْتَ عَلَى قَوْمِي أَنْ هَدَاهُمُ اللَّهُ لِلْإِسْلَامِ. أَتَشَوَّهْتَ عَلَى قَوْمِي أَنْ هَدَاهُمُ اللَّهُ لِلْإِسْلَامِ. يعني أَتَنَكَّرْتَ عَلَى قَوْمِي. O Hassan, should you be abusing my people? From the Prophet's people was Safwan. Don't forget, Safwan came as a muhajir from Mecca. Hassan ibn Thabit was from amongst the Ansar. And the Prophet ever liked that the muhajirun were comfortable in Medina, so that they will not say they are going back to Mecca. So the Prophet ﷺ did not like anything that affected the muhajirun. One of those who made hijrah was who? Safwan ibn Mu'attal. Another person who made hijrah was who? Mistah ibn Usasa. Radiyallahu. Do you understand? So the Prophet said, alayhi salam, Atashawwahta alayya qawmi. Will you be criticizing and despising my people? And hadahumullahu lil Islam. These people that Allah had guided to Islam. You knew how the people of Makkah were strongly against the Prophet. These ones that Allah has guided to follow me, should you be criticizing them and be heavy on them? You should be criticizing those who oppose me. Because he used to sing songs to defend the Prophet. He used to sing poems to defend the Prophet. So don't sing poems against those who are already following me. أَتَشَوَّهَتَ عَلَىٰ قَوْمٍ. Will you be descending heavily upon my people? أَنْ هَدَاهُمُ اللَّهُ لِلْإِسْلَامِ. After Allah had guided them to Islam. The Prophet said, alayhi salatu salam, تَنَفَّسْتَ عَلَيْهِمْ يَا حَسَّانِ. You were too much on them, O Hassan. It was too much. You know now, the Prophet was speaking after Allah had declared Safwan and Āishah innocent. So he could caution Hassan ibn Thabit. The Prophet said, alayhi salatu salam, تَنَفَّسْتَ عَلَيْهِمْ يَا حَسَّانِ أَحْسِنْ فِي مَا أَصَابَكَ. You were too much on them, O Hassan. أَحْسِنْ فِي مَا أَصَابَكَ. So overlook what has reached you. أَحْسِنْ فِي مَا أَصَابَكَ. Forgive about what has reached you already. What you were doing to was bad. So ahsin, forgive, overlook. Overlook. This was the advice of the Prophet. So sometimes the judge will seek the path of advice. He will not seek the path of absolute ruling. Do we understand? So you have done what you have done to could have pushed that man out of anger to do what he did. And it was clear that you were too much on them. What you were saying was much. Tanaffasta alayhim. Tanaffasa, yani you were heavily hitting them, O Hassan. So the Prophet encouraged Hassan ibn Thabit. So the government can encourage a party to overlook a right that they have. Party A killed somebody from party B. Government can intervene to beg party B to accept a dia instead of that a life was taken back. Do you understand? Government can intervene to seek mutual understanding rather than the ruling itself being taken place. So the Prophet ﷺ encouraged Hassan ibn Thabit that you had done what was not appropriate. So in revenge or in returning what was done to you, ahsin, overlook, be nice. You remember that Allah had mentioned that in the Quran in many places. وَكَتَبْنَا عَلَيْهِمْ فِيهَا أَنَّ النَّفْسَ بِالنَّفْسِ وَالْعَيْنَ بِالْعَيْنِ وَالْأَنْفَ بِالْأَنْفِ وَالْأُذُنَ بِالْأُذُنِ وَالسِّنَّ بِالسِّنِّ وَالْجُرُوحَ قِصَاص. So there should have been qisas against Safwan. But Allah says, وَمَنْ تَصَدَّقَ بِهِ فَهُوَ كَفَّارَةٌ لَهُ. So Allah's Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was encouraging Hassan ibn Thabit to make it, to overlook, so that it becomes additional kafara for him for what he had done. قال هي لك يا رسول الله. On the spot, Hassan ibn Thabit said, I give it to you, Messenger of Allah. Instead of seeking for qisas, instead of seeking for revenge and retribution, I give it to you. Huwa laka ya Rasul Allah. Because the Prophet said to him, Ahsin fima asabak. Overlook regarding what had reached you. Hassan said, Huwa laka ya Rasul. I give it up, Messenger of Allah. فَأَعْطَاهُ النَّبِيُّ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ سِيرِينَ الْقِبْطِيَّةِ. So out of joy too, the Prophet gave him a gift. The Prophet gave Hassan ibn Thabit a gift. What gift was that? Sirin. You remember that the Egyptian head had given two of his maids to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The first one was who? Maria al-Qibtiyya, the mother of Ibrahim, that was born to the Prophet alayhi salatu wasallam. The second one was who? Sirin. This Sirin, when Hassan forgave Safwan, the Prophet gave Hassan Sirin. Sallallahu alayhi. Ahsana fa ahsana ilayhi. So he did well. He overlooked, and then the Prophet was kind towards him. Okay, take. He didn't bring it as a condition. When you forgive him, over, he said, I forgive, Messenger. You forgive, yes, you forgive. Okay, I also give you a gift. So Sirin, the sister of Maria al-Qibtiyya, her name is what? Sirin. Sirin. I have a friend who has a daughter whose name was Sirin. This, my friend, is in a difficult situation. May Allah remove him from difficulty. So Sirin was the name of the sister of Maria al-Qibtiyya. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam gave it as a gift to who? Hassan ibn Thabit. فَوَلَدَتْ لَهُ Abdur-Rahman. So Sirin gave birth to Abdurrahman. For who? Hassan ibn Thabit. So Hassan ibn Thabit has a son. What is his name? Abdurrahman ibn Hassan ibn Thabit. He got it as a gift when he overlooked Safwan's attack against him. وَأَعْطَاهُ أَرْضًا. The Prophet did not stop there. Sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. When Hassan overlooked, he had blamed Hassan. He told him to overlook. Hassan overlooked. He gave him a gift. A woman from whom he got the son. And then he gave him another gift. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. That gift was a landed property that was belonging to who? Abu Talha. I hope this should be part of the land that has Bi'roha. Bi'roha. You remember Bi'roha? I know where Bi'roha is today in Medina. I've taken a number of brothers there. I was taken there by one of the scholars who knew about Medina most. He wrote a book about Medina, Shaykh Samir ibn Amin al-Zuhairi. He took me to that place. This is Bi'roha. You remember the story of Bi'roha? Allah says, لَن تَنَالُوا الْبِرَّ حَتَّى تُنْفِقُوا مِمَّا تُحِبُّونَ. You will not attain righteousness until you spend from the best of what you have. So, this man had that land. He came to give it to the Prophet ﷺ. I give this out, O Messenger of Allah. So you see now later on, when this matter came up, the Prophet gave it as a gift to who? Hassan ibn Thabit. That land was belonging to Abu Talha. وَأَعْطَاهُ أَرْضًا. The Prophet ﷺ also gave Hassan ibn Thabit a landed property, كَانَتْ لِأَبِي طَلْحَةٍ. That was belonging to who? Abu Talha, the husband of who? The husband of who? That woman that almost every woman liked. We all like her too. What's her name? The mother of Anas ibn Malik. What's her name? Sulaim. Radiallahu anha. Abu Talha tasaddaqa biha Abu Talha ala Rasulillah. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam had received it as a sadaqah that Abu Talha had given fi sabilillah. The Prophet gave it as an additional gift to who? Hassan ibn Thabit. You know that will go a long way to make him be calm over the attack of who? Safwan ibn Mu'attal. He gave him three things. He counseled Hassan ibn Thabit. What you did was wrong. But when he forgave, he now gave him a gift. What was the gift? Sirin al-Qibtiyah. Another gift, the landed property that was belonging to who? Abu Talha. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam gave it to Hassan. You can see the wisdom of this messenger. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. I like to stop here. So what happened next? Inshallah, we come back to that in the next class. Abu Abdurrahman. Abu Abdurrahman.
نعم شيخنا أحسن الله إليك.
أمين وإياكم أبا عامر.
نعم شيخنا. I have a couple of questions here. The first one reads, the first one is now there is a question, sir, is seeking the clarification. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, I can.
Now, so it's asking if you, it says, Sheikh, did you set up a marriage platform called MSMMI or the like? Or are you attending the program as invited by the MSMMI? We see you being advertised by the group for their activities. Please help clarify.
I wish that the first question at least should have been about the entire story between Safwan, Hassan, and Āishah and all of this. But as it has been asked, I will say, I don't have any platform that I have set up about marriage. I don't own any platform set up for the purposes of marriage. I don't. It's MSMI. I don't own it. And I'm not part of the owners of that platform. and I'm not any organizer in it. I'm not the organizer. One of my very brothers, respected, invited me to a lecture on that platform some time ago, about a month ago. But over 2 weeks ago, I had apologized that I cannot attend that program for my own reasons. So I don't think I should be advertised, because it's almost 15 to 16 days now since I had bowed out of that program. So I don't think between now and 16 days ago, I should still be mentioned about as from those who will attend that program. If that's done, maybe it's an oversight from them, but it is not appropriate that I am still mentioned as those to participate in the program. I don't own that platform, and I'm not participating in that program, Abu Amir. I hope that that is clear, Aisha.
There's a question here asking if, okay, the first one is not clear. The second one reads, sometimes we talk about our scholars, like a scholar said this or that, and I don't like this, or how he said that. Is this also gossip?
Well, it can fall under gossip, and it can fall under self-estimation. Many times you find that young people are the one criticizing their teachers. They are the ones who know what the teacher said that was rightly said. They are the ones who know the teacher is humble, the teacher is this. They are the ones criticizing and placing their teachers on the scale as if the scales are with them. The scales are not with you. That is why in the past, students ask scholars about another scholar. You don't pass a comment about someone who is better than you. You don't. One of the scholars was asked about a scholar. Say, I'm a learned person too, but I am too small to be talking about that person you are asking me about. Today, even someone learning Alif Ba Ta Sa is saying that one scholar said something and he didn't say it well. It's very common now. Young people, even those, I think it's a problem with our times. Young people are full of themselves. They speak as if the skills to know what is good and bad, who is learned and unlearned, is with them. When they should keep silence and only be busy with the knowledge that will benefit them from whomever they are listening to. They get busy with criticizing the person. Oh, he's like this, he talks like this. And even the praises too, you overpraise a person. You should not overpraise. You speak about somebody, you should not be talking about. What you should be busy with are the things that they say to you, the lessons that you gain from that. But as for he didn't say it well, okay, he should come and learn how to say it from you, oh student. He should come and learn how to say it from you, you the student. He should come and take a course about delivery from you, you the student. So saying that about your teacher is overestimation of yourself. Put yourself where you belong. Know that you are not in that place to start speaking. Sometimes the teacher say things in manners that you don't expect. You don't know the reason why he's saying that. And in the way that he has said it, you go on to criticize him because of one ignorance that you have about what led him to say what he said. You are ignorant, and upon your ignorance, you are judging a learned person. It is from the arrogance of our times. Young people are very arrogant now. And you know these phones and WhatsApp now, they are easy to type, speaking grammar, analyzing the teacher. It is from the aspects of overestimation of their own abilities, not realizing and remaining where they should be. They speak with the two sides of the mouth, and that's not appropriate. It's not appropriate. Allahu Akbar. I mean, ask me a question that has to do with the lesson today, and then we call it a day.
No, there's one here asking about the vow of Abu Bakr that he made on not to spend on Mistah. Is there any expiation mandatory on him after the ayah prohibiting?
Of course, there is expiation. He will expiate for it. وَكَفَّارَتُهُ إِطْعَامُ عَشَرَةِ مَسَاكِينَ. So he will feed 10 poor persons. Or kiswatu. Or provide them clothes. Or tahriru raqaba. Or free a slave. فَمَنْ لَمْ يَجِدْ. If he did not have any of these three things at that time, فَصِيَامُ ثَلَاثَةِ أَيَّامٍ. Then he will fast for 3 days. ذَلِكَ كَفَّارَةُ أَيْمَانِكُمْ إِذَا حَلَفْتُمْ. That is the atonement for your vow whenever you vow. فَاحْفَظُوا أَيْمَانَكُمْ وَاحْفَظُوا أَيْمَانَكُمْ. So be careful, don't be vowing all the time. But you know, Abu Bakr as-Siddiq was from amongst the leaders of the people of Iman. Even the Prophet alayhi salatu salam, Ka'b ibn Malik radiyallahu anhu reported ahadith, they are collected in Sahih Bukhari, that the Prophet alayhi salatu salam would vow to do something. And whenever he found something else better than what he had vowed to do, he broke the vow and then he did what was lawful, what was better. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So that will of course be the case with Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiyallahu anhu. I hope that is clear about it. Ameen wa iyyakum. Can we stop it here? I saw a question someone said that she found that she had a dream. She saw her father wearing huge white cloths in the dream. Wearing huge white cloths in the dream for a man who had already died is a sign of goodness for him. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that to Āishah radiyallahu anha when he saw. Who was that man who was telling the Prophet about goodness? Before when at the beginning the message started coming to the Prophet alayhi salatu salam. What was his name? What was his name? The hadith occurs in Sahih Muslim. The man had not accepted Islam, but he said to the Prophet that if this matter starts, I will accept the message. I will support you. I will push you forward. So Āishah was asking the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam about him. He had a dream. The dream was told it was a discussion between Āishah and the Prophet alayhi salatu wasallam. And the Prophet said, I saw him in the dream wearing white, huge clothes, bright clothes. Or it was Āishah who had the dream. So it was asked, what does this mean? The Prophet said, the fact that you saw him in the white, bright clothes, and he was already there, that is symbol that he was pleased with, Allah was pleased with him. So the scholars say when you see a dead Muslim in white clothes like that, when he was already dead, you had a dream, he was a Muslim, he died upon Islam, that is evidence that he was upon goodness. This hadith occurs in Sahih Bukhari or Sahih Muslim. So I think that is goodness for your father, inshallah. You should try to increase in dua for him. May Allah increase his status upon rightness.
Jazakumullah khairan, Shaykh.
Can we stop here, Abu Amir? We spent the time so far. آمين وإياكم سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. We meet in class tomorrow morning, inshallah.